Today I'm going to tell you about 5 things that I take on every trip and use on every trip. There's something for everyone, although not everything will be for everyone, if that makes sense. If you want to learn more about something on this list, I've put links to everything in the description, and I have a few coupon codes to share with you. According to some YouTube commenters, you're not allowed to be comfortable or clean while overlanding. I disagree. Getting into your sleeping bag all sweaty and covered in dust is not fun, and wet wipes just don't cut it after a few days. And that's where this, the geyser system, comes in. They call this a shower, but I like to think of it as more of a sponge bath. It works by pumping water directly into the sponge that is attached to the hose. You can vary the speed that the water comes out, and it works great for washing your hair, your pits, and your bits. You can also use it for dishes and other camping gear. The sponges are interchangeable, so you don't need to use one sponge for everything, because that would be gross. All you need to do is turn off the water flow, twist the sponge off, put the next one on, and you turn the water flow back on again. There are 2 different models of the geyser sponge bath. The base one is designed around boiling some water with a jet boil. You put in 2 liters of cold water and then 1 liter of boiling water, and it's ready to use. You can do that with this model, or you can actually plug this one in and it will heat itself up slowly. It takes about 45 minutes to warm up cold water, so you can start it when you get to camp, you can set up, cook dinner, and then it'll be ready to go. While it's heating, you'll find that this pulls about 8 amps or around 100 watts, so it's not a huge amount of power draw. What really sets this thing apart is how little water you have to use. I've been using the instant propane showers like the Julka Hot Tap for the last few years, and they work great. I love them. Unless I'm camped out next to a river like this one, I found myself taking more and more water to keep it going. A single shower with the propane heaters uses about 3 gallons of water, where I can completely wash myself with this with about 0.8 of a gallon. The second thing on my list is probably the best thing you can get for emergency communications, and that's this, my satellite messenger. This allows me to communicate with any cell phone via text message anywhere from the Americas, Europe, and Australia. There are other models that use other satellite networks that can work globally, but since all my travel is here in the US, this thing works for me. That's great because it allows me to text my wife, letting her know where I am and how things are going, or she can message me if she needs to get a hold of me at any time, because this has a permanent cell phone number that she can text as well. And I've used this to text friends to get information about their location, permit details, and even the nearest gas station. It also has a tracking feature using this button that I turn on every single trip that I go on. Anyone with the link to the tracking page can find my exact location. So if I suddenly stop responding, they know where I am. My wife usually doesn't bother, but my parents love to track me and see what I'm up to. Finally, these messengers also usually have an SOS button. This will put me in contact with emergency services and will get them to my location if things ever go really wrong. This has been featured on my channel before, and it keeps getting more and more popular, and it has something new that should be coming very soon. This is the Devos Light Ranger. It's a camp light. The light attaches to this included pole with stand, so you can extend it up to 9 feet in the air. If you've ever used a headlamp, you know how it causes moths to fly into your face. Well, now they'll be up there instead. The other advantage is that it gives a nice even light spread across camp, which is great for setting up your tent or cooking dinner. The light is controlled by the button on the side. If you push it once, it turns all sides on, but if you don't need all 360 degrees of light, you can push it again to switch it down to just 2 sides or 1 side lit up like it is now. You can also dim the light by pushing and holding the button, but I don't think it's really showing up in daylight. The light is also easily detached from the base, so it can be used in other situations. The interior lighting in my truck is pretty terrible, so I often just sit this down when I'm digging around in the back. You can also use it in your tent by putting a carabiner through the top and hanging it up, which is great for if you're reading or getting ready to sleep. I've used this in the house, changing light bulbs. I've used it under the hood. I've used it under the vehicle even by turning it upside down. Devos have also been listening to feedback from the community. It can be tough because some people think that it needs more features, while others complain about the price and want less features. So they have to strike a balance down the middle, but one of the most requested things was a softer amber light, and they came up with a super simple solution. Actually, it's what I suggested. I came up with it. But you know, I don't want to take credit for these things. It's a clip-on filter. And this one you probably need to see at night. And this is it. A much softer, more amber light. My latest and probably one of my favorite additions to the kit that I take with me is Starlink. It's definitely not for everyone. I know that there are a lot of people who come out to these places and do these trips because they enjoy being disconnected, but Starlink allows people who work remotely to have a solid internet connection anywhere with a clear view of the sky. I've been using it pretty much every day of this trip. We're currently on day 10, and it's worked great for video calls and uploading video. My average download speed here in Idaho has been between 50 and 75 megabits per second, and upload has been between 10 and 25 megabits per second. I've also heard of people having faster speeds than that, but that's just what I've experienced here. The kit costs about $500, and the RV service is $135 a month. The good thing is that you can turn the service off when you're not using it. It does sound like a lot of money, but for someone who wants to work while traveling to remote places like this, it's worth every single penny. Lists of 5 do really well on YouTube, but I really struggled narrowing this down to just 5 things. I was tempted to do a fridge because it's fantastic. I love my Iceco, especially the newer ones with the lids that open on both sides. Power is amazing. My Red Arc power management system keeps everything charged and running. And I actually even thought about mentioning my self-inflating mattresses, since they are super comfortable and work in pretty much any tent that you're in. Instead, I decided to go with the drawer system, because adding a drawer system is as much of an upgrade as switching from a cooler to a fridge. Before adding the drawers to my previous vehicle, my 4Runner, I used plastic totes, and a drawer system is so much more convenient. It makes organization and finding everything so much easier. I was also surprised how much space I saved when I switched from those plastic totes to the drawer system. I had so much more room somehow. Both the drawer systems for my 4Runner, my previous vehicle, and the one that I have in this, my Tundra, are from SHW Off-Road, who designs and produces them for a bunch of different vehicles. They're based locally to me in Kentucky. There are 2 things that really set their drawer systems apart from the mass-produced ones that you can find. One is that you get vehicle-specific drawer systems that use every square inch of available space. They do that by scanning the vehicles with their 3D scanner, so the drawers are as big as they can be, and the wings on the side are contoured to the vehicle shape, and they give you even more storage space. The other thing that sets them apart is how light they're able to make them. Thanks to some special plywood and some clever design, the 4Runner drawer system weighs about 140 pounds. I'm just going to interrupt my own video because right after I shot it, SHW Off-Road actually announced that they have come up with a new drawer series called the Ultralight drawers, which through some kind of magic and witchcraft, they have made 70 pounds or around 70 pounds depending on the vehicle, which is awesome. That's really light. And this is it. This one is a prototype, so there may be some slight changes before the final product. But just like the Expedition series, you've got everything contoured. This one's specifically for the 4th gen 4Runner. So contoured wings that hinge up, they drop down. I actually really like the drawers on this without the drawer sides, just because it's so much simpler. They are locking, so they lock into place. All you need to do is slightly lift them to be able to bring them out. And when you push them back in, it's the same deal, and once again it's locked into place. They have changed the finish a little bit, so they've got a really nice bedline finish and curved edges, which I think is going to carry over to their other drawers too. And of course the main thing is just how light it is. This one, when it's finished, should be at 68 pounds for the 4th gen 4Runner, and I think the 5th gen 4Runner is about the same. It actually works out cheaper than their regular drawers, which they call the Expedition series, and they should be coming out soon. The truck systems are even more impressive since they use a fiberglass composite in these, so the entire drawer system in a 5.5-foot full-size bed weighs about 160 pounds, and half of that's just the hardware. The one in my Tundra is their very first truck prototype, and they have made so many changes since, so I don't really want to show you too much of it, but you can expect fully extending 500-pound drawer slides, waterproof, dustproof design, and for them to give as much storage space as possible. Look for a full video on the production version later this year on my channel. Hopefully there was something on this list that interested you. If there wasn't, then tell me what makes your trips easier, more comfortable. What's your favorite piece of gear that you use all the time? If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing to the channel. At the moment, only about 14% of my viewers are subscribed, and I'd love to make it to 100,000 subscribers. Thanks for watching.